I'm Tavis Smiley, glad to have you with us in this third and final hour of our program today. I've been honored for these last 2 hours to speak to just an august panel of contributors to this program throughout the year. Let me just start once again by saying thank you, thank you, thank you to all of my contributors who come on this program throughout the year to opine on a variety of subjects. I've said many times, and I say this unapologetically, that at our best, this program is about challenging people to re-examine the assumptions they hold. At our best, we're about helping people to expand their inventory of ideas. And I believe that there is no subject, I've learned this over the course of a number of actually 30 plus years of being in this business, radio and TV. I've learned that there's no subject under the sun that if you look hard enough and work hard enough, you can't find a Black expert. And I mean, I had a conversation this year about the cicada, about the noise that the cicada make when they get together in the summer times. I found a Negro expert on the cicada. So don't tell me that you can't find a Black expert on any subject matter under the sun if you look and search hard enough. And so I am just blessed to have had access to so many brilliant voices over the course of this year. Let me introduce very quickly the roundtable panel for this third and final hour of today's program, and we'll jump straight away into our dialogue. I am pleased to be joined by the brilliant scholar, a noted public intellectual, former independent candidate for president of these United States, Dr. Cornel West, is with us in this hour. Dr. West, how are you today, sir?
I'm blessed to be here with you and Sister Nina, the brothers and Sister Nina. What a blessing, what a joy.
It's good to have you. Our White House correspondent and the host of his own program, A More Perfect Union, heard weekdays on my home station in LA, KBLA Talk 1080, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. Nii-Quartelai, how are you today, sir?
I'm doing well, and I'm in the best of company.
Yes, you are. I can say amen to that, as we said in the Black church. Jesse Jackson Jr. Is with us, 17 years in Congress, doing some amazing broadcast work, which we'll talk about as we move through this hour. Congressman, how are you, sir?
I'm honored to be here, Tavis. Thank you for having me. Thank you for letting me participate. And I'm honored to be part of the resistance.
That's it. We're going to talk in this hour about what resistance looks like. That's the theme of this hour, what resistance looks like over the next 4 years. And she is the noted public intellectual in her own right, unapologetically progressive in her worldview, which I appreciate, the former Ohio State Senator, Nina Turner. Nina Turner, how are you today?
I am blessed, Brother Tavis Smiley, and to be in such august company. I can't think of a better way to spend this afternoon.
Well, we brothers are blessed to be in dialogue with you. So thank you for taking the time today. Doc, let me start with you and we'll jump from there. Glad we got a full hour here. Let me just ask you to reflect right quick. I've had a number of conversations, as you can imagine, post-election day, but you're the only person in this conversation in this hour who actually ran for president this time around. Just offer me 2 or 3 minutes of your reflections, anywhere you want to go, about your independent campaign for the White House.
Well, I was very blessed to be able to be a witness and bear witness. But I think of the great Benjamin Quarles, towering Black historian, who wrote that powerful classic, The Nadir of Black History at the Nadir, the low moment. I think in many ways we're wrestling with that right now. What does it mean to deal with deep down in the valley where poor and working Black people are more and more overlooked, downplayed, brutalized, ignored, and act as if they're not precious children of God that they are. And all I was trying to do in the campaign was just to hold up the bloodstained banner and keep a focus on those folk who come out of an enslaved Jim Crow, Jane Crow legacy and yet resist with such grace and dignity, of such high quality. Hegel says the owl of Minerva spreads its wings upon the falling of the dust, which is say to what? The owl of Minerva signifies wisdom. We look back retrospectively to try to empower ourselves to intervene in the present to authorize a better future. Well, that's what the campaign was, just a moment in a movement of a great Black people who at the moment are wrestling with the nadir in American empire.
I want to make sure I heard you correctly. Did you say that you regard this as a low moment in Black history or a low moment in American history, or did I mishear you?
Well, they go hand in hand, but I'm thinking primarily of those who used to be Negroes, ex-Negroes, Black folk. Yes, very, very low moment in terms of keeping track of their rich humanity and creativity.
Yeah. What was your read of the way that African Americans showed up or did not show up? And you can define show up in your own way. Whether we showed up or did not show up in this presidential race.
The director to me too?
Yes, Dr. West. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, but no, they didn't show up because they didn't have enough to show up for. That's the problem. The Black leadership's become so mediocre, don't want to tell the truth, not courageous enough, not visionary enough that the folks said, look, good God Almighty, if you're going to have some mediocre folks showing up at the Apollo, it's not going to be packed. They're not going to have no long lines. Yeah. You got to bring some Aretha and James Brown. We got to have some high quality. We don't have high quality politicians anymore, for the most part. I mean, we got Zanina and others we can talk about, but there's not a whole lot of Black politicians left of high quality folk going to show up for. Now, of course, you know, Trump himself, the gangster that he is, you can have an anti-Trump show up, but that was never enough, and we found that out.
Jesse Jackson Jr., I want to come to you because there's been so much talk over the last couple of weeks, and I suspect there'll be talk until January the 20th. I don't know the law, but I assume that President Biden has until 11:59 a.m. on January the 20th to do whatever he's going to do about pardons and clemency, etc. I've raised your name any number of times in my own conversations about how and why Joe Biden needs to step up his pardon game. I said on the program the day that the president got a headline for giving 1,500 people their freedom, as it were, that was a misnomer. And you can't be misled by the headlines. I refer to it as a layup. I called it a layup and not a Steph Curry step back three-pointer, because most of those persons were already at home. And the president, with one stroke of the pen, gave them what they were in need of, or what they were asking for. There were about 39 people, as I recall, who he pardoned for nonviolent crimes. But to my mind, if it's good enough for Hunter Biden, it ought to be good enough for a whole lot of other people. And I've raised your name in many conversations because at the top of my list is Jesse Jackson Jr. and others I know who I believe deserve, frankly, God-given right to be pardoned once they have done their time. So I don't need to call it much more than that. I'm just curious, my first time talking to you on the radio, at least, about how you've been feeling. I want to just get personal here. How are you processing this moment where you see Joe Biden pardon his own son, your father, the Reverend Jesse Jackson Sr., on that very day, not knowing that Biden was going to pardon his son, just happened on that day to send a letter to the president asking the president to pardon his son. So just give me a sense of how you're feeling in this moment and how you're processing all this talk about pardons.
I'm anxious. I'm anxious like 77 million other Americans are who've paid their debt to society in full, many of whom filled out pardon applications that Richard Nixon didn't have to fill out, that Paul Manafort didn't have to fill out, that Hunter Biden didn't have to fill out. And we've been stuck over in the Department of Justice, the Office of the Pardon Attorney, hoping that they'll recommend our name for full, complete, and absolute pardon. I go through this anxiety every 4 years because the pardon season, as a function of habit, usually occurs after turkeys are pardoned, and then the nation turns its attention to a few human beings for whom the architects of our republic placed in the Constitution. And so I'm anxious. I don't sleep well. I know on 11/59 what the next phase of my life looks like, pardoned or unpardoned, and then we persevere and we push through. I had to go through this season with President Barack Obama. One of his last press conferences was, will you pardon Jesse Jackson Jr.? And there was a lot of talk about Jesse Jackson Jr. hadn't filled out a pardon application. That occurred on the first month, January 13th, 2017, 1 week before he left office. They said I needed to fill out a pardon application. Well, I filled out the pardon application, and lo and behold, Hunter Biden doesn't have to fill out one. So the process is really, really, really jacked up for 77 million Americans who find themselves in this limbo. But let me also, Tavis, identify with the nadir that Brother West talked about, not only for African Americans, but for the entire nation. We are in this period of the redeemers. These are the periods, the people after first Reconstruction who, after African Americans had gained some levels of freedom, they decided that they wanted to reestablish for the nation white supremacy and the purpose of the nation. And so this is our second Redeemer period with a billionaire, Donald Trump, and Elon Musk, and Vivek Ramaswamy, and the entire cabinet. It's a redemption period, but what we know comes right after these Redeemer periods is some new form of Jim Crow. And so when Dr. West speaks about the nadir, when we look at the number of African Americans who are no longer applying to Ivy League schools, but not just them, they're the bellwether. State universities around the country are not accepting African Americans and women in this particular class because of the assault on our rights. We have grave concerns, not only for our men and women who need to be freed from shame, blame, and guilt for only that which the pardon can do, but for those 77 million Americans to be able to hold their heads high in the life, liberty, and happiness system are part of the idea that the phoenix one day will rise again. Because we had a Black caucus in first Reconstruction until George White gave his speech. I guess we out of here, but one day we'll rise again like the phoenix. And then during second Reconstruction, after Brown and obviously the Voting Rights Act of 1965, we now have 60 African Americans in the Congress of the United States, 2 Black women just elected to the Senate, an African American man from Georgia in the United States Senate. But we could be looking at 0, just like we saw at the end of last Reconstruction, if in fact we do not fight, resist, and strengthen the Voting Rights Act. We can go from all these numbers and all of this celebratory stuff to nothing. And that's why Joe Biden, with the immunity decision, plus ex parte Garland, a Supreme Court decision from 1866 that gives him unfettered power to pardon people for every debt-paid felon in the United States, he should grant them the exact same language that he granted his son. Full, unconditional, absolute, and complete pardon for the debt they paid to the society.
Let me ask you right quick, what it means, or how you process that in this experiment in democracy, there are 77 million people who could use this pardon, but most of them don't have the access, don't have the resources. So they will live their lives. Most of those persons will live their lives with this hanging over their head. How do you read that?
And they'll never mention it again. It's just sitting there. It's something that is part of their personality. It is part of their framework. It is part of their life expectancy. A man went to the White House with his daughter, and he waited in line after getting 2 tickets to tour the White House to take her on a tour. She went through security. He went through security. And the Secret Service said, "Sir, will you sit over here and have a seat? We'd like to talk to you." "Sir, I'm sorry, we can't let you tour the White House with your 13-year-old daughter because our background check shows us that you had a felony on your record 40 years ago. And therefore, we can't let you into the Biden White House." Well, this is happening in some way. He had never shared with his daughter that he even had a felony. This is impacting the psychology and the psychosis and the mental health of our people in 77 million different stories, a significant number of which Joe Biden could wipe out with a pardon emancipation proclamation. Red, yellow, brown, black, and white. If you paid your debt to society, take the same language you used for Hunter, love your son as you must love other sons and daughters, issue the proclamation, an executive order to the Department of Justice, the mail service, and to the IRS to deliver these pardons to everybody before 11:59 on January 20th, and we'll have a great getting up morning.
What Dr. West, Nina Turner, was talking about with that nadir, what Congressman Jackson has built upon in his comments, really pushes me toward the broader conversation about what resistance looks like in the next 4 years. Before I get to that broader question about resistance, or even the more narrow question of Black resistance, let me start with what progressive, not that these things don't connect in some ways anyway, but to your mind, what does progressive pushback look like over the next 4 years?
Really asking this incoming Trump administration, we already know kind of how the man's going to operate based on the last time he was in the White House, and it appears he's amping up even more rigorously not to the good. So it seems right now. So resistance looks like, progressive resistance in particular, is to demand from this new administration what we would have demanded from any administration, and to not allow the Trump administration just to walk without being challenged. And so that means if we were going to push a Democratic administration for Medicare for all, which we should have had by now, but I'll put that in the parking lot, then we need to push for that in the Trump administration too. If in fact Congressman Jesse Jackson Jr. is not pardoned and the other 77 million folks, we need to push this administration in the same way that we would push a Democratic administration, cutting child debt, homelessness, or people who are unhoused. It is the same. The assignment, Brother Tavis, remains the same no matter who is in the White House, no matter who is in the Congress. We are fighting for a type of human rights economy that lifts all people and give people the basic needs that we understand from Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Before anybody can self-actualize, we got to deal with the base of that triangle. And so Trump can't, his administration can't get off. We cannot allow people like Elon Musk, unelected, Ramaswamy, unelected, and some of these other people that he is either appointing directly or their special advisors on the side to get away unchallenged. Another example of that looks like the post office. We can't sit back and say, oh, it's the Trump administration, so we just not going to fight to make sure that the United States post office remains not only intact, but is strengthened. The reason why it is weakened right now is because the Congress does not fund the United States post office to the level that it funds the Pentagon. We got our priorities wrong in this country. So the resistance is a persistence to fight for humanity and all that looks like, no matter who occupies the White House and no matter who occupies the Congress. The assignment remains the same.
Let me ask you whether or not, to your mind, progressives showed up to challenge Joe Biden in the way you expect that they will show up to challenge Donald Trump. And if the answer is no, how do I read that?
It's absolutely no, they did not. They went there with a few exceptions, because I'm talking very broadly, but there were a few exceptions to what I'm about to say. They thought making nice was going to get them what they said they went there for. My summation here is that the Congressional Progressive Caucus, the Congressional Black Caucus, and in many ways the Squad, with a few exceptions, did exactly what, to quote Dr. West, the milquetoast neoliberals would do. There is no resistance within that United States Congress, but for a handful of people. They failed. Now, if they're going to rise up now, that's empty, because it's easy for Democrat to bump against a Republican just like a Republican bumps against a Democrat. What takes incredible intestinal fortitude is to speak the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, and push for that truth to be manifested through policy, no matter who is in the White House. But some of these folks were so anxious to get invited to the Christmas party that they forgot everything else. And that is a problem, and it is a failure. And that is one of the reasons why Donald J. Trump is President-elect Trump yet again. It is because of the failure of a resistance. People sent folks who called themselves progressives to go to Congress to be different than the neoliberals. But by and large, they have proven themselves to be weak, to not understand strategy, to not understand how to use power and leverage. You got to leverage your power while you have it. And let me give a quick example of that. If in fact you are a progressive and you were going to endorse President Biden, who did not deserve the endorsement of anybody that calls themselves a progressive, but I digress. If you were going to give it to him and take one for the team and swallow hard and push, then you got to make a demand. One of my demands would have been that no hair on the head of Congresswoman Cori Bush is touched. Not one hair on the head of Congressman Bowman is touched. Just by way of examples, we can give a whole nother litany of examples. The George Floyd Act didn't pass. The Voting Rights Act that Congressman congressman talked about did not pass, a whole host of things. But if in fact you were going to swallow hard, you got to get something for that. They got absolutely nothing for it. And then an epic failure because the Democrats lost the White House and the power of both chambers in the Congress. You got to make a demand and there has to be a consequence. They didn't make a demand. They just rolled over because people want us to think that Donald J. Trump is the biggest threat to humanity and to democracy. He may be a threat, but he's not the biggest threat to it. Sexism, racism, xenophobia, anti-Semitism, poverty, all of the things that people like us believe there is a fix to was reigning supreme and strong before that man even took the oath of office the last time. He is a threat, but he's not the only threat. And we allow folks with fancy titles to lullaby us to only focus on Trump. Meanwhile, when Democrats control both chambers of the Congress and the White House, they did ne'er, to quote my grandmother, nothing that would materially change the lives of people who are marginalized and suffering in these United States of America. Did almost nothing. So, Brother Tavis, for all them folks who are going to rise up on Trump, if they didn't rise up on Biden, their rising is empty.
Point well taken. I've got goosebumps. I'll tell you more about it when we come forward here. I've got goosebumps because I'm thinking, I'm just thinking already about what's going to happen when Nina Turner and Cornel West are doing a show together in 2025. I can't handle either one of them by themselves. They're firebrands by themselves. You put these two Negroes together, there's going to be an explosion. Dr. Quartey, you felt, you didn't just hear it, I'm sure you felt that fire that Nina Turner was breathing a moment ago. As I said, I'll tell the audience more about the show that she and Dr. West will be co-hosting in a moment. But have you given any thought to how you are going to cover Donald Trump over these next 4 years, sir?
Oh, wow. The idea that keeps me up late at night is how we will press on. But I think of that knowing that we've been through worse.
Yeah.
Our people have been through worse. So, as I think about covering President-elect Trump, I think it's important not to feed the outrage fatigue. I think there are a lot of people that are tuning out. It's very clear when you look at the media landscape, and particularly some of the numbers, at MSNBC and CNN, where ratings are, basically cut in half. I think a lot of people are tuning out, and that's happening at a time where we need people to tap in and tune in. And so I'm not going to be gratuitous with the personality quirks of the president-elect. I think it's important to keep our eye on the prize, to keep our eye on those issues that are important to everyday people and not get caught up in the Washington swirl. And so, it's clear to me that Democrats have some important decisions ahead in terms of what issues they're looking to fight the president on and where they're looking to play ball. So, for example, Tavis, when it comes to where they're looking to fight, Project 2025, it gives people a really great 900-page reference point in terms of all the things that are at odds with folks who hold the values that are unapologetically progressive and unapologetically black. When we look at the Trump tax cut, for example, which is set to expire next year, if that expires, taxes are going to go up for about 6 in 10 Americans. Well, right now, the economy is still fragile. And so are Democrats willing to fight him on that, or are they going to play ball on that? That's a big question. And then, of course, the war on diversity, equity, and inclusion. The New York Times just reported that the incoming class at Harvard Law School, for example, and there are lots of schools across the country where the number of black students matriculating is low. In Harvard's case, cut in half. And so you better believe that the incoming administration is going to make DEI a dirty acronym. Diversity is going to be a dirty word. And so Democrats have got to be clear on where they're going to fight. The only thing I would add, Tavis, the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. This is a bill that came out in a law that was passed in the early 2000s. Which has opened up markets and created a lot of opportunity across the diaspora. Opportunity that where folks on the continent still have not been able to fully participate in the prosperity that the continent offers. And so these are just a few areas that folks around here are buzzing about in terms of, will Democrats fight or are they going to play ball with the incoming administration?
Let me ask you, I haven't had a chance to talk to you about this, Nii-Quartelai. I've talked to others about it, but I'm curious, given that you are, again, our White House correspondent and host of your own program, A More Perfect Union. What was your read on ABC? And before you answer that, let me just, in full disclosure, I thought ABC caved in giving Donald Trump that $15 million, another $1 million to cover his legal fees. I thought it was a horrible move. I thought that it would usher in a chilling effect on all the rest of us in this realm. I had John Nichols on our program yesterday from The Nation. He and I were laughing and joking, although it ain't funny. Who's gonna get the letter first from Trump's attorneys? The Nation magazine or Tavis Smiley? Because anybody trying to hold him accountable is in the crosshairs, man. And this ain't no joking matter. So he goes after ABC. ABC caves. What's he do the next day? He sues the Des Moines Register. Now he's gone after them. CNN is on the list. NBC is on the list. So there are folk on this list already, and it's putting the fear of God in some people about how they hold the president accountable in terms of speaking the truth about a variety of issues. If what you end up with is a bunch of lawyers trying to sue you for the truth that you tell. What's your read of what ABC did?
I think there are a number of folks in the press that are deeply concerned. Some are outraged that ABC settled with the president-elect's team to the tune of $15 million. What's so strange when you read some of the reporting about this? ABC said that one of the considerations was the potential negative impact that going through, an extended battle, legal battle with the president-elect could have on the industry and the press. But it seems to me that settling this to the tune of $15 million has had just as much of an effect, if not more. It's important that we think about what impact this is going to have on smaller outlets out there. We know that the tradition of the black press has been to hold people accountable. And, I would be lying if I said that I did not consider the challenge that is being posed to the freedom of the press with what just happened with ABC. And so, and the other thing I would add, Tavis, I'm also hearing that the president-elect may be interested in moving things around in the White House press briefing room. He's talked about potentially getting rid of the New York Times, kicking them out of the White House briefing room, inviting more podcasters, and inviting more independent journalists, in air quotes, into the White House press briefing room. And so, if we zoom out, Tavis, the effect that this has is it further diminishes the trust among journalists. And if more people trust journalists less, then it allows for the president-elect's administration to run roughshod over any accountability.
Yep. Dr. West, let me circle back to you right quick. What was your read on what ABC did?
Oh, you're right. They caved in.
Yeah.
But LA Times already caved in. Washington Post caved in. You're going to see a whole lot of caving in among these billionaires that's trying to get in on the inside so that their contracts can remain in place and so that their flow can remain in place. But what we have to do, I think, most importantly, is to recognize that we come from a great black people with a tradition that says that Trump don't scare us. Trump ain't God, the way Mark Riley Thomas said. Neo-fascism doesn't scare us. We come from a tradition that went through slavery, man. We don't even have a language for that. And yet listen to the quality of those spirituals and look at those black men and women walking with such grace and dignity out of 244 years of barbarity. That's where we pull from. That's why resistance is grounded in remembrance. Mm-hmm. You can't resist if you don't have your right memory in place. And to remember is to deal with that which has been dismembered. Well, a nadir moment is a moment of dismemberment, shattering this confidence, the love, the hope of Black people and oppressed people. In our role, and I'm speaking as a Christian now, which means that we got something that no Trump or fascism or white supremacy can ever take away. That's a joy, that's a freedom, that's a dignity, and that's a sanctity. That's KBLA 1580, resistance, remembrance, resilience. That's why the Tavis Smiley channel is going to be distinctive in this historical moment.
Jesse Jackson Jr., you heard what Dr. West said moments ago. What's your sense of the condition of truth in this democracy over the next 4 years?
Wrong forever on the throne and truth forever on the scaffold.
Yes.
So how that thing swings does matter to this dialogue. One of the things Dr. West did not say, in case Donald Trump and his minions want to come over here and sue us, is Dr. West is broke as a heart attack.
That's right. And the Ten Commandments. Broke as
Jesse
the Ten
Jackson
Commandments,
Jr.
but full of fire.
is broke. Tavis is broke. Nina Turner, Dr. Nii-Quartelai, we all broke over here. We ain't got nothing left in us but voice and truth.
That's right. That's right.
You done taken our freedom from us. You done taken or tried to take some of our dignity and our integrity. We ain't got no money.
That's
So
right.
all we got left are these laptops. So my recommendation is we are the true vanguard of the truth. Until some of y'all start subscribing to the truth, we won't be able to protect ourselves. That's the condition of the truth, Tavis.
I love it. I love that King quote. Truth forever on the scaffold, wrong forever on the throne. Yet that scaffold sways the future. And behind the dim unknown standeth God within the shadow, keeping watch above his own. That's it. That's how you do that. That's how you do that. Nina Turner, I got another 90 seconds here right now for your comment about the condition of truth in the next 4 years.
It's on shaky ground. Well, since, we quoting the great Dr. MLK Jr., truth pressed down to the earth, baby.
That's
Shall
right. It'll rise
again. That's
right.
it.
That's
Behold
right.
that.
Yeah. No, it is it's a serious situation. I don't know that that we are ready for this period we're about to enter. I mean, if you take Donald Trump at his word, and he does even half a Nii-Quartelai of what he said he's going to do, these are going to be, to quote Dr. West again, some grim days, Nii-Quartelai, in front of us.
Yeah, and also aided by mis and disinformation like we haven't seen it before. Look, I've been telling everybody I know, you got to pick your friends like you pick your fruit. That's what Erykah Badu said. Well, you also got to pick your media like you pick your fruit. And we hope that folks will pick KBLA, download the app, and listen to us live or on demand. So folks can get information that they can trust and hear from voices that we don't hear nearly enough of, because that's going to be key to how we get through the next season.
When we come forward in our remaining moments with this panel, I will tell you more about how you can hear these voices on a daily basis in 2025, and I could not be happier about that. You're listening to Tavis Smiley. All right.
We're a little
Roger,
short there, so you'll have an extra 30 seconds in this last segment there.
Say that again?
We're a little short, so you'll have an extra 30 seconds. Yep.
4:30?
Yeah, but
all
I'm
right.
saying that last segment we had 1 minute left.
Right, so give me 4:30 and count me down all the way, and make this my 30.
4:30.
All right?
Yep.
Count me down every minute. All right, Jay, you ready?
Yep, we're good.
All right, here we go. I'm going to go around the horn and give you, I'll set you up. Just follow me. We'll go around the horn and talk about your show. So just follow me. Here we go. In 4 minutes and 30 seconds, ladies and gentlemen. So work with me here. In 3, 2. I'm Tavis Smiley. Our remaining moments with Dr. Cornel West, Nina Turner, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, our friend and brother Jesse Jackson Jr. This program is syndicated. I am honored and just humbled at the success we've had even this last year with the growth of this show and syndication. But at my home station in LA, we have decided that Black men, with all due respect to Nina Turner, who you'll hear from in just a second, that Black men, given that we were the topic du jour in this last presidential race, need to be heard. I'm tired of folk talking about Black men rather than talking to or with Black men. So we've changed our lineup on my home station at KBLA 1580 to get Black men, to put Black men in midday at the center of this conversation. So following my program in LA every day, you will hear a program called Truth Time, hosted by Dr. Cornel West and Nina Turner. Followed by them, you will hear More Truth on the Jesse L. Jackson Jr. show. And following Jesse Jackson Jr., you will hear D.L. Hughley, his afternoon show. And after that, you will hear a More Perfect Union, Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey. I know, again, because we're in syndication, everybody doesn't hear all of these programs, but I wanted to expose you to what we're attempting to do so that you can tap in when you want and when you will at KBLA 1580 to hear these various programs across the nation. In the 3 minutes I have left, I go to you first, Nina Turner. Say a word about Truth Time, and then we'll go to Dr. West.
Just an awesome opportunity for Dr. West and I to set a foundation and an environment for people to engage with us on what the truth of the matter is. You know, Brother James Baldwin once said that not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. And that is certainly an aspect of Truth Time that people are going to find with Dr. Cornel West and myself.
Dr. West, what's it mean for you to sit alongside Nina Turner every day and to host a progressive program, an unapologetic program every day called Truth Time?
Well, I'm profoundly humbled and honored to be alongside my dear sister Nina. She's one and only. It could be an Ashford and Simpson moment because it's the real thing. The real thing. Have you ever tried it for yourself when you get it secondhand from someone else? Come listen to Sister Nina and Brother West.
In our rundown is Tavis Smiley, and then Truth Time with Cornel West and Nina Turner, and then it's the voice of Jesse Jackson Jr. Jesse Jackson Jr., say a word about what people can expect from your program in the coming year.
Well, it is my hope to draw upon a lot of resources from Capitol Hill, from the community, from every state in the union, as many people as we can get to participate. But the great challenge is following Tavis Smiley in the morning, sticking with the station through Truth Time, coming to the Jesse Jackson Jr. show, and then working our way to our central idea. We must build a more perfect union for all Americans. We're not going to be able to do it by ourselves. And so the entire show, the entire station, the entire vibe is going to flow.
Dr. Quartey, last word to you. You've earned the right to have moved on our station into drive time, started on the weekends and then went to weekdays. And now this Negro is holding down drive time. And as any station program director will tell you, that's high cotton, morning drive and afternoon drive. Last word, Dr. Quartey.
I am honored to step to the mic. It is a great responsibility. I proudly carry the banner. On a More Perfect Union, weekdays from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific, folks can expect a daily national political news digest, unfiltered conversations with people that are unafraid to say the quiet part out loud. And I think it's going to be important to be unafraid as we move into this next season, particularly with those bold voices that are shaping the culture and shaping our future. And so honored to step to the mic. Thank you, Tavis. Thanks to the entire team for suiting up and meeting the moment in this really special way.
No place I would have rather have been in the last hour than right here alongside Dr. Cornel West, Congressman Jesse L. Jackson Jr., former Ohio State Senator Nina Turner, and our friend Dr. Nii-Quartelai Quartey, our White House correspondent. I'm just humbled. I am humbled that when I put the call out to these persons, these brilliant Black men and women, that they accepted the call to join me in trying to build a platform that over the next 4 years will allow progressive Black voices to be heard. That's our end. That's our aim. I'm grateful to each of them. Tomorrow is Friday, so tomorrow is the best of Tavis Smiley across America. Going to be hard picking 3 great hours from this week. I had a great week. But until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.